Welcome to Charts Today. Today's edition comes to you from Sydney, and we're going to look at price targets on the Bloomberg. So let's get started.
Okay, so what I'm going to focus on today is multiple price targets. The more targets you see on a chart, the more likely those targets are going to be met. And we're looking for clustering, especially where targets go to the same place. Now, this is coffee. Really interesting here. Remembering these green dots are the places where the targets were actually activated. So these targets are now historic. I mean, these targets were given back in August when the price was around 240, 250, and we had targets given back then to $300. We had a target that was given in September to 320, and we're now sitting at 340. So these upside targets above the trend, we've got a new target there. Also with Bloomberg, with the price targets on the chart, you do end up spending quite a lot of time manipulating the charts, especially to see the targets into the future. But that one just shows you how coffee has met those targets. Looking at the Australian dollar, given I'm in Australia at the moment, a really big milestone here against sterling has broken the $2 mark. So £1 now buys you more than $2 Australian, and that's happened today. So that's a really significant thing. I've noticed that being here, of course, very handy if you're changing your money from sterling to Aussie dollars. Not so good if you're traveling in the UK from Oz. But notice how we had these multiple upside targets given over time. So back in 2022, had an upside target to 211. We had another upside target given to 226, and another upside target given to 213 more recently. Now, we haven't got to anywhere near those targets, and this is really just to highlight the fact that the key message here is that we've had buying thrusts and we're breaking to new highs, and we are seeing multi-year highs on the Aussie dollar as a result of that. And we're now looking, this 213 target is hanging over us, and if you want to track this, you could go to smaller unit sizes or go to the 60-minute charts for shorter term moves. Remembering on the app portal, you just type APPS LIN go, and that will take you to where you can try the targets, and this link here takes you to the full presentation, and we do cover multiple targets in that presentation. So today what I've done is I've focused on finding some charts where we've got multiple upside targets. Here we're seeing silver. You'll find lots of charts on your Bloomberg with these multiple upside targets. Silver, back in August when the price was 30, we had upside targets to 36.45, 36.63, two upside targets given, really increases the likelihood. Now we got to 34.90, and that may well be, if you're trading silver, that may well be that you're saying, well, that we didn't get all the way to the target. That might be, and we had a little downside target there that you can't quite see. So now we're looking for a break to new highs to really meet those targets. But the fact is, we did go quite a long way towards those targets. And of course, we've got this massive target. Don't get too excited about big upside targets. That's the $46 until you see these targets broken. Of course, we'd want to see a breakthrough 35, and then we might look to that higher level. Looking at some of the other charts here, Amazon. I've just been going through US stocks today. Amazon, multiple upside targets here. Notice how that little downside target was given below the average there. That's the 21-day Linton average, below that average, and then a little upward thrust. Remember, it's that buying thrust and then the activation that produces this target. So back in August, September time, the price was at 177. We had a target to 225. That's actually been met a little bit sooner than was projected, and we've got upside targets here that have been passed as well, and then we've got this big upside target to 246. That's the next one, and we're going to watch for the trajectory along there and support levels to take into account. Really quite key there. Amex, this is one of the ones that was used in that, if you look at that presentation that goes right through that 90-slide presentation, we were using charts back in September where we had these targets pointing into the future, and they've now pretty much been met on Amex. So really quite interesting. Again, the green dots are the activation points. Those are the upside targets, and then we can go further. So really quite key there, and just putting these targets on any Bloomberg chart, if you're seeing multiple targets, that's quite key. And if we zoom in here, we can see here you do a lot of manipulation on your Bloomberg to look at this. But this orange dot, if we break to a new high, we activate that thrust there, activates that target, and we've got a new upside target in line with that other previous target, and that target is pointing to quite a lot higher, so the 350 level, and of course we've got this target to 356. Two targets pointing to the same area really increases the likelihood of the thrust. Now, not all targets are to the upside. Here we see Boeing, and so we had downside targets given in September, below the trend, so you'd really take that target. We actually move faster than the target trajectory there, remembering we're using a standard of 2 to 1. You can change the trajectory to try and work out how quickly targets will be met. Another doubt, we move through the average here, another downside target given, and then another one given here. Both of these targets met, of course, and now we've got these two selling thrusts here producing these train tracks. And you may decide at this point, we've got a little upside target, that maybe these targets are not going to now be reached. Maybe we've overdone, and that's where you're often looking for that move away from the target trajectory is quite key. But multiple downside targets for Boeing. Bad news happens in downtrends. No big surprises there. Taking a look at Goldman Sachs, multiple targets to the upside. Remembering these targets were given back in July, October, and have been largely met. We've got 631, 667, they're still in train, and of course this big target to 798. Now that big target, don't get too excited about that, was given off a very big buying thrust back in April, but these smaller buying thrusts are produced. The message really is multiple upside targets increases the likelihood of upside, and multiple downside targets increases the likelihood of downside. Here we see another one. This is Home Depot, and here we see the thrust, the activation point, the green dot. Once that green dot happens, that target is drawn into the future, just like this one has been here. 443, 450. So really, this is, these are the targets. We have pulled back at the moment, but we break that 437 high, then you'd look to those next levels. So really quite key. And of course, if you're shorter term trading, use the targets on the 60-minute charts with smaller unit sizes. This one's IBM. Again, really quite interesting. A new upside target has been given. Now, that is a lone target at the moment, so you don't want to get too excited. Don't be surprised to see another buying thrust producing another target later on. These upside targets nearly met. More confident here when you had the multiple upside targets, and maybe that's that thrust that we got there. But really quite interesting, again, seeing multiple targets. JP Morgan, what a great one this is. Upside targets here as well. So we had this move last year, end of 2023, that produced in January an upside target for 272 for September. So that was given back in January for September. We haven't quite got there, but we have largely gone in that direction. And here we see 258, that was nearly met, and that was off a target given back in June. Then we have another target and another target. So multiple upside targets is a really key factor in looking at charts today. So just keep an eye on those charts. Remember, on the app portal, it's APPS LIN Go, and you can apply these targets on any chart on your Bloomberg. So really quite interesting to be able to just go through and see all the different charts.
That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the session. Remember, it's APPS LIN Go on your Bloomberg, so why not have a play with the targets and see for yourself. I'm going to go out in a minute and enjoy the sunshine. Bye for now.